Do people describe you as independent, strong, responsible? The person who always handles things alone? Do you struggle asking for help? Feel uncomfortable receiving support? Do you tell yourself, I'll figure it out? I don't need anything. Other people have bigger problems. Maybe people admire your independence, your ability to handle hard things, to keep going, to carry pressure quietly, to never ask for much. But underneath that strength, being supported feels uncomfortable, almost unfamiliar, almost unsafe. When life gets hard, you disappear into yourself. You handle it alone, not because you want to, because depending on people feels harder. And even when someone offers help, part of you wants to say, I'm fine, I got it. Don't worry about me. But what if psychology suggests something deeper? What if independence isn't always freedom? What if sometimes independence becomes survival? And what if the habits that made you strong are also the habits quietly exhausting you now? Psychology suggests something uncomfortable. Hyper-independence is often not strength alone. It's adaptation, because constantly handling everything yourself. Struggling to ask for help. Feeling uncomfortable receiving support. Those patterns usually don't appear randomly. Modern psychology shows that childhood experiences shape how people learn safety, connection, and dependence. Attachment psychology suggests children constantly learn invisible rules from their environment. Not through logic, through survival. If support felt inconsistent, your nervous system adapts. If vulnerability felt unsafe, your nervous system adapts. If needing people felt uncomfortable, your nervous system adapts. Over time, emotional conditioning slowly creates automatic beliefs. Handle it yourself. Don't need too much. Figure it out alone. And eventually, self-reliance stops being a skill. It becomes protection. Hyper-independence often isn't proof that someone doesn't need people. Sometimes it's proof that their nervous system learned. Depending on people felt risky. Children don't choose survival patterns. Their nervous system learns them. Not because they're weak, not because something is wrong with them. Because human brains are designed to adapt. And one childhood experience quietly teaches people that needing others feels unsafe more than most realize. Not rejection, not failure, something much quieter. Learning early in life that depending on people doesn't always feel safe. And that lesson can quietly follow someone into adulthood. For many people, hyper-independence doesn't begin with confidence. It begins with experience. Children naturally depend on people for comfort, safety, support, connection. But psychology suggests something important. Children slowly learn whether depending on people feels safe or risky. Maybe you grew up around emotionally unavailable caregivers, parents who loved you, but struggled being emotionally present. Maybe support felt inconsistent. Sometimes people helped. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes you felt cared for. Sometimes you felt completely alone. Or maybe the adults around you were overwhelmed, busy, stressed, emotionally exhausted. Not because they didn't care, because they were carrying struggles of their own. And children notice more than adults realize. You ask for help. People seem frustrated. You express emotions. People seem unavailable. You struggle. Nobody notices. And slowly, your nervous system begins learning invisible rules. Figure it out yourself. Handle it alone. Don't ask for too much. Attachment psychology suggests children adapt to preserve connection. Because connection feels like survival. Children rarely think, my environment isn't meeting my emotional needs. Instead, many quietly learn, I need less. I should handle things alone. Depending on people creates disappointment. And over time, self-reliance becomes protection. You solve problems quietly, manage emotions privately, carry stress alone. People may even admire it. You're so independent. You're mature for your age. You never ask for much. But psychology recognizes something important. Some children become independent early. Not because independence feels good. Because dependence stops feeling safe. And years later, Adulthood quietly reflects those same patterns. You struggle asking for help. You carry too much. You disappear when life gets difficult. Not because you're cold. Not because you don't trust people. Because somewhere long ago, your nervous system quietly learned. Handle it yourself. Need less. Rely on yourself first. And survival patterns learned in childhood can quietly follow people long after childhood ends. For some people, hyper-independence doesn't begin because support was missing. It begins because emotions didn't feel safe. Maybe you cried when you were overwhelmed, scared, frustrated, sad. And instead of feeling understood, you heard things like, "You're too sensitive. Stop crying. You'll be fine. Don't be dramatic. It's not a big deal." For adults, those moments may seem small, normal, even harmless. But psychology suggests children learn how to understand emotions through emotional responses. When emotional experiences are repeatedly dismissed, minimized, or ignored, the nervous system adapts, not consciously, automatically. Over time, emotional conditioning begins creating invisible beliefs. My emotions are too much. People don't want difficult feelings. I should handle things myself. Eventually, emotional suppression becomes protection. You stop opening up, stop asking for comfort, stop sharing struggles. Not because emotions disappear, because vulnerability starts feeling unsafe. Attachment psychology suggests children naturally move toward connection. But when emotional expression repeatedly creates discomfort, some children quietly adapt. Not by needing less, by showing less, they become easier, quieter, more self-reliant. And years later, adulthood quietly reflects those same patterns. You struggle asking for emotional support. You say, "I'm fine," even when you're overwhelmed. You carry difficult things privately, not because you don't have needs, because somewhere long ago, your nervous system quietly learned. My emotions create problems. My struggles inconvenience people. It's safer to handle things alone. And over time, independence stops feeling like choice and starts feeling like survival. At first, people often admire it, your independence, your ability to handle difficult things, your strength, your reliability, the way you always seem okay. The person who never asks for much, the person who handles stress quietly, the person who always finds a way. And for a long time, you may even feel proud of that, because handling everything alone starts feeling normal, even responsible. But psychology suggests something important. Hyper-independence often comes with a hidden cost. Exhaustion. Not ordinary tiredness. Something deeper. The exhaustion of carrying life without letting people help. The exhaustion of always being the strong one. The exhaustion of constantly telling yourself, "I got it. I'll handle it. I don't need help." You solve problems alone. Process emotions alone. Make difficult decisions alone. Carry stress alone. And over time, your nervous system quietly carries more than it was designed to hold. Because human nervous systems were never built for endless self-reliance. People regulate stress through connection, support, safety, healthy dependence. But hyper-independence can slowly remove those things. You become highly capable, but quietly overwhelmed. You become dependable, but emotionally exhausted. You become the person everyone leans on, but rarely the person who feels safe leaning on others. The painful part is, many hyper-independent people don't notice exhaustion immediately, because carrying everything becomes normal, until burnout appears. Emotional numbness, mental fatigue, feeling overwhelmed by small things, feeling tired in ways sleep doesn't fully fix. Not because you're weak, not because you're failing, because your nervous system has been surviving for a very long time. And eventually, strength without support becomes heavy, very heavy, because surviving alone can make people look strong, while quietly leaving them exhausted in ways nobody sees. At first, hyper-independence can look healthy, responsible, strong, even admirable. You don't ask for much. You don't rely on people. You handle difficult things yourself. But psychology suggests something important. The same survival patterns that protect people can also create distance, especially in relationships, because closeness requires something difficult: vulnerability, trust, dependence, the ability to let people see difficult parts of you. But when your nervous system learns early that depending on people feels unsafe. Connection can quietly start feeling uncomfortable. Not because you don't want closeness, because closeness creates exposure. You may tell yourself, I'll handle it. I don't want to need people. It's easier if I do everything myself. So when life becomes difficult, you disappear into yourself. You withdraw, stay quiet, carry stress privately, even around people who genuinely care. Attachment psychology suggests healthy relationships develop through emotional safety. Not perfection, not independence, safety. But hyper-independence can quietly build emotional walls. Not walls meant to hurt people. Walls built to avoid disappointment, avoid rejection, avoid feeling unsupported again. And over time, people may start experiencing distance. They care about you, but struggle reaching you because parts of you stay protected, hidden, private. The painful part is many hyper-independent people deeply want connection, support, closeness, understanding. But their nervous system quietly says, don't depend too much, don't need too much, handle it alone. And eventually, protection can quietly become isolation. Not because connection isn't wanted, because survival learned distance feels safer. One of the most painful parts of hyper-independence is loneliness. Not always physical loneliness, something quieter, harder to explain. You can have friends, family, relationships, people who care about you, people around you every day, and still quietly feel alone. Because loneliness isn't always about being by yourself. Sometimes, it's about feeling unseen. Hyper-independent people often become experts at carrying difficult things privately. Stress, fear, exhaustion, pain. You keep functioning, keep showing up, keep saying, I'm okay, even when you're struggling. Not because you're pretending, because hiding difficult things starts feeling automatic. Over time, people learn the version of you that feels safest to show. The capable version, the strong version, the reliable version, the person who handles everything. But your fears, your stress, your emotional exhaustion stay hidden. Attachment psychology suggests emotional safety develops when people feel accepted fully, not only for strengths, but also for needs, for vulnerability, for difficult emotions. But when your nervous system learns early that needing support feels unsafe, something painful can happen. People stay connected to your survival self, not your full self. And eventually, you may find yourself carrying one quiet thought. Nobody really knows me. Not because people don't care, because you've spent years protecting them from seeing difficult parts of you. The painful truth is, hyper-independent people often don't feel alone because nobody is there. They feel alone because survival taught them to carry life alone, even when they don't have to anymore. But this is the part many hyper-independent people never hear. Your independence wasn't weakness. It wasn't coldness. It wasn't proof that you don't need people. Psychology suggests something more compassionate. You adapted. Your nervous system learned patterns that once helped you survive. If support felt inconsistent, you learned to rely on yourself. If emotions felt unsafe, you learned to keep them private. If needing people created disappointment, you learned independence. Not because something was wrong with you, because your brain was trying to protect you. Human nervous systems adapt, especially during childhood, and those adaptations can become incredibly strong. They can create capable people, reliable people, responsible people, people who survive difficult things quietly. But survival patterns that protect children can slowly isolate adults. The child who learned, handle it yourself, can become the adult carrying too much alone. The child who learned, don't need too much, can become the adult who struggles receiving support. The child who learned, people may not be there, can become the adult who never fully lets people in. But understanding this changes something important. You stop asking, why am I like this? And start asking, what taught my nervous system that doing everything alone felt safer? That question matters, because shame keeps survival patterns alive. Understanding creates healing, and healing doesn't mean becoming dependent. It doesn't mean losing strength. It means learning something your nervous system may have never fully learned before. That connection can be safe. Support can be safe. And needing people does not make you weak. It makes you human. Understanding where these patterns come from matters. But awareness alone doesn't create healing. Because healing isn't only understanding why your nervous system learned hyperindependence. Healing is teaching it something new. That support can be safe. That connection can be safe. That needing people does not automatically create disappointment. And healing often starts smaller than people expect. The first step, notice independence language. Pay attention to automatic thoughts that appear when life feels difficult. Maybe your mind says, I'll handle it myself. I don't need help. It's easier if I do it alone. Pause and gently ask yourself, do I actually want to do this alone? Or am I afraid of needing people? That question matters. Because many hyper-independent people don't avoid support because they want to. They avoid support because their nervous system learned survival there. The second step, practice small support, not overwhelming vulnerability. Not depending on people overnight. Start smaller, safer, more manageable. Try simple moments of nervous system exposure. Can you help me with this? Can I ask your opinion? I'm having a hard time right now. For nervous systems that learned self-reliance early, receiving support can feel uncomfortable at first. That's okay. Healing often feels unfamiliar before it feels safe. The third step, build emotionally safe relationships. Not intense relationships, safe relationships. Look for consistency, emotional availability, safety over intensity. People who make honesty feel safe. People who don't punish vulnerability. People who allow support to feel normal. Because healing doesn't mean becoming dependent. It means learning connection feels safe. And slowly, your nervous system begins learning something new. You can still be strong and not carry everything alone. If nobody told you this before, you were never weak for needing people. You were never difficult for wanting support. And you were never failing, because carrying everything alone became exhausting. You adapted. Your nervous system learned patterns that once helped you survive. You learned to stay strong, stay responsible, stay self-reliant. Not because something was wrong with you, because somewhere along the way, doing everything alone started feeling safer. But human beings were never designed to carry life alone. Psychology reminds us that people heal through safety, connection, support, trust. Strength is not needing nobody. Strength is knowing you don't have to survive everything alone. And maybe healing begins here. Learning that asking for help isn't weakness. Receiving support isn't failure. And needing people does not take away your independence. It makes you human. Before this video ends, what's harder for you? Asking for help? Receiving support? Or trusting people enough to let them help? Write it in the comments. And if psychology topics like this help you understand yourself more deeply, subscribe to Lee's Psychology. This is a safe place to understand childhood patterns, emotional healing, and the psychology shaping who we become.